Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you so much. Oh, I want to thank Peter Metzinger for inviting me and Lorraine for doing the work to pull this all together. If it's anything like my marriage, I put a lot of thought into things, and the person that actually does it is my wife, Kathy, who's here with me today. So thank you. I also, having been here all morning and listened to Philip and Marcus and Ronaldo talk about the innovative things they've done and where things, their ideas, was very interesting. So I've tried to pull some of those thoughts into what I'm going to say today. The first thing, though, I'm telling you right now, Ronaldo, are you here? I'm stealing the white suit idea. I'm taking it. I'm going to take it to politics in the United States and see how that works out for my company. I love it. I just love it. When Peter first called me, he said, "I want you to think about the Titanic and how captains have to get by the iceberg, and the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg is social media." And I thought, but Peter, the Titanic sunk. So I thought about it, and it is a very good analogy, though, because I think the tip of the iceberg, the tip of what the captains of CEOs, heads of parties, lead candidates at the top see, the tip of the iceberg is the communications world they know and they can see. And they think they can steer around the tip of the iceberg. What they're failing to understand is what's under the water. That is the iceberg, and the iceberg that is where social media is the iceberg. To pretend it's not there and to avoid it will mean you will sink. And so I think understanding why what's happening in the move in communications from the top-down television and radio that we all have grown up with versus what's happening is really important. So I want to spend like 3 or 4 minutes hopefully talking about what's really going on, and then I think we can get into the meat of what's important. We are witnessing not just a shift in communications, it's not television replacing radio or making radio less important and TV becoming more important. We're witnessing a shift in power, a big shift in power. And the only time in our world history I think that we've seen before this was when the difference between before the printing press and after the printing press. Before the printing press, the rich and powerful held all the important books, all the important information. If you had enough money to pay a scribe to write a copy of the Bible or a copy of an important book, you had it. The masses had nothing. And then all of a sudden one day the printing press happened, and almost anybody could print a pamphlet that would start a revolution or put a new idea or spread ideas out there. What we're witnessing is that, except unlike even then, the printing press, if I had a pamphlet that was going to excite people that they would pass from friend to friend to read and spread the idea, they couldn't talk back, they couldn't transmit it in an instant to all their friends. So what we're seeing now is the same thing. For 50 or so, 60, 70 years now, the powerful have had the ability to own the TV message. The corporation either bought it, or the party or the government owned it, or used it to tell us what we were supposed to think, do, believe, etc. The internet and social media has totally changed that. We now have anybody has the power to get the message out. And that's why the top is totally. They keep thinking they see the tip of the iceberg. That's the only thing they see. They know how to do that. They've owned that part of it, of the communications platform, forever. What they're not understanding is the power that's coming up from the bottom, which gets to Marcus's David and Goliath example of the referendum. What's a conservative blogger in the United States by the name of Glenn Reynolds wrote a book. The book, I must caution, is not as good as mine, but it's a very good book, and it was, and it's called. He wrote it right after the Dean campaign in 2004, 2005, I believe. It's called The Army of Davids, and what he posited was that the world, all of us in communications, had grown up learning that the best thing is to build Goliath, right? You want to build the biggest company, the biggest party, the strongest company, the strongest party, the candidate getting the biggest amount of votes. We want to be Goliath. But what he was saying is that the internet and social media was creating a world in which the armies of Davids were starting to rise up against manipulation, against the manipulation of top-down message, of telling people what they had to do, when they had to do it, how they wanted to believe, that this was what was going on. The armies of Davids were being formed. Well, I read that book and I thought, he's right. It's Goliath, armies of Davids. I don't want to keep building Goliath anymore because the armies want to go kill the Goliaths that are manipulating them. By the way, we're seeing this now all over the world. I mean, that's what happened, a lot of what happened with the Arab Spring. And so, what do you want to do? And I think this is the fundamental thing that every single person in communications today, whether for a company or for a party or a candidate, must understand. You no longer want to build Goliath. You want to hand the slingshots to the armies of Davids. You want to give the army of Davids the tools to spread your message, to be your ambassador, to carry the cause against an issue. Goliath can be the opposition. It can be a competing company. It can be a powerful issue that must be solved. But that is what's happening. We are moving away from Goliaths having all the power to communicate, and now any person out there can with a photo, beat a news agency to the story, or spread the message of a campaign, or move further and further out for a candidate and a cause and talk to their friends, their neighbors, their coworkers. Now, to illustrate this, there's two things I would say. The first example of a company to do this is Apple, right? Apple, remember, there was a time when all of us had to buy the entire album of music to buy the one song that did not suck on the album. Right? We only liked one song, but you had to buy all the other stuff, the crummy stuff, to get it. A bunch of young people, many of them breaking the law, started to share only the one song. The entire recording industry said, no, we're Goliath. You can't do that. You will buy the entire... We decide how you buy music. We're Goliath. We are telling you from the top what you will do. The court system even went into work to protect Goliath, but people kept doing it. It starts to spread. The army of Davids was spreading music and saying, no, we're going to do it different. One company in the world, by this time, by the way, Apple was on its knees. Apple as a company was dead. Dead. And they decide that they are going to hand out the slingshots. We're going to give you iTunes. We're going to give you iPods. And then it kept going, right? Today, Apple, I know it's on a little bit of a downslope right now if you watch the stock, but it's competing, I think, with Exxon on any given day about which company in the world has the largest market cap. Why? Because it's the first company in the world, I think, who really got the concept of, I don't want to be Goliath. If I think like that, I will. Which, by the way, one of the reasons I think they're starting to slide is because they've gone back to thinking like we want to be Goliath instead of being the company that's handing out slingshots to the army. So that's one. The second thing to illustrate this, if any one of you gets 4 emails or 4 text messages or 4 messages on Facebook tomorrow telling you that the new hot movie, the movie that's supposed to be the hot one you've been waiting for all summer to think about going to. They went, they saw it, it was horrible. And they emailed you and texted you and said, just 4 friends, maybe only 3 friends, tell you it's the worst thing they ever saw. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money. How many millions of dollars does the studio need to spend telling you it will be the greatest movie you ever, if you just see it, I promise you, it will be the greatest movie you ever saw. Millions of dollars on posters, millions of dollars on advertising telling you that. Just 3 friends on your cell phone, maybe even only 1. Are you going? It no longer matters how many millions that the TV studio spends telling you it's great. You're not going anymore. That's why, so you have these 2 things. You have Goliath and you have David's or Davidas. I don't want to be accused of leaving women out here, but that's the analogy. But you have those 2 things, and at the same time, what Goliath spends money telling you doesn't matter as much as 3 or 4 of the Davids or your friends. And so that is changing. That is the mistake. That and this is where I want to get to Philip's, the key, I think, question when Philip was talking at the end, but give us examples of things that happen outside of America because cultures are different. No, they are different. That is not changing anywhere. The bottom is becoming more and more and more powerful every day. The top is losing more and more power every day. If we are working for a corporation or a party or a candidate, we have to change our thinking. What friends say, it's more important for Barack Obama to have 4 friends tell you his speech is really good on the environment than to have him send you an email and say, read my speech, it was really good. It doesn't, even we like him. That's what I am an Obama supporter. It's much more important. Him saying that, I get the email from him telling me that, it's like, okay, they're selling me, even if I get it from the campaign. If I get the campaign's email forwarded to me from my friend saying, hey, I really think you need to read this, that has a much more power, which is another thing I think, again, same thing with the company. They get an email from the company, it's even worse. As soon as they see it's from the company. On the other hand, if you've converted people who believe in your company, who believe in your product, and you have access to communicate with them, and you give them good content, whether it's a good video, a good email, something interesting, if then those believers in your product send that on to me, their friend, and they send it on saying, hey, you really should look at this. I was thinking of you. This might work for you. I'm much more likely to actually go investigate, think about it, and do something. So these are the kinds of things that are changing this big, huge shift that's happening. There was no culture in the United States in 2003 of people giving small amounts of money to a presidential campaign. There was no culture of that. The culture was, Bill Clinton set the record for raising money for President of the United States. He did not set it in 1992 when he ran for president against George Herbert Walker Bush. He set it unsurprisingly, in 1996 when he was running for re-election. Now, why would people give him all that money? Oh, he was the president. He could do things. I hope this doesn't stream because he hates it when I say this, but they also had people, told people, look, if you raise $100,000, you know, there's no one sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom in the White House tonight, so you can raise $100,000. Maybe you could be the guest sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom in the White House. It did not make me run out to raise him $100,000, but very many people did go raise him $100,000. Well, that's how it worked. It worked that way throughout history in the United States until 2003. In 2003, the campaign, the Howard Dean campaign that I ran, we had 431 people who supported us in the country on an email list. That's it. 431 people, no one heard of us. The TV was talking every day about the other candidate, John Kerry, John Edwards, Dick Gephardt, the other big candidates for president. We had about $90,000 in the bank. So we wrote a simple email. And we told everybody the truth. There's only 431 of you who support us in the entire country. We don't want your money. We don't even want you to go door to door or any of those things. We want you to talk to one family member, one coworker, or one friend, a neighbor across the fence, somebody at the water cooler at work. Tell them why you're supporting us and why you think they should come to our website, look at our information, and think about supporting Howard Dean. That was it. The other campaigns were running TV. I am great. We're just asking friends to talk to their friends. Within a couple of weeks, we were at 1,000. A few weeks later, we were at 10,000 people. About 3 months later, we were at 159,000 people. And then we did this crazy thing. We sent an email out asking everybody to close their eyes. And we know that you think if you sent us $25, it would be a waste against all this crazy politics. You're right. Your $25 would be a tremendous waste. If you think like that, do not send it. So, but if everybody closes their eyes and believes that everybody else of the 159,000 are going to send the $25, if we all do it, you will shock American politics forever. So that week, more money, they did it. People everywhere from all over the country started to do it. And that at the end of that week, 7 days later, we had broken Bill Clinton's record as a presidential candidate for raising the most money in a quarter in a presidential campaign. Now, so that's why I say there's no culture of doing that in Switzerland or in Austria or in Germany or in the UK. Well, there wasn't one in the United States either. There was never one of millions and millions. I think it's, I can't remember how many millions now. I think it was 7 million who gave to Obama and something like that. 7 million people gave Obama. Well, in 2008, 3 million people gave him $500 million. There was no, go back and look before 2003 and tell me where there was a culture of millions of Americans deciding, we're going to do something like that. It was starting small, which is something both Philip and Marcus have talked about in terms of getting people the concept that they can do something, that their little difference will make a difference, that starts to build. And there will be a breakout moment in Europe where this happens. It's inevitable. It's what I keep telling people or trying to explain to them. James Carville, Bill Clinton's campaign manager, used to say, it's the economy, stupid. That was the big rallying cry of the Clinton campaign. It is not the economy, stupid. Yes, the economy, how people will vote. It's the network, stupid. And the network is getting bigger every day. More people around the globe and throughout Switzerland and the UK and the United States and Austria are on the network. And more importantly, the tools that they have at their disposal as Davids to communicate with each other, to connect with each other, to do powerful things, those tools are much more powerful every day. The apps on their cell phones are much more powerful than we had. In 2003, there was no YouTube. There was no Twitter. The iPhone didn't get launched in 2000 until 2007. All of these things. So we had this, in the United States in 2003, only 61, there's 300 million people in the United States. Only 61 million were on the internet in 2003. So yet, with just that small part on the internet, we were able to totally change the way politics has been practiced, not only there, but as people, great pioneers like the other speakers. And Peter was inviting me to Switzerland 9 years ago to speak about this vision that he had, this change that we all saw coming. So that pioneering spirit is we may have even with Dean been 4 years too early for where the technology, the tools, and the prevalence of internet usage penetration was, but that is over. I mean, that's every place on the planet is catching up to that, to the point where I'll fast forward a little bit to Nigeria. I get on this question of culture. I've worked. Goodluck Jonathan is now the president of Nigeria. We did his campaigning. Morgan Tsvangirai, who's the prime minister of Zimbabwe, we've worked on his campaign. We have done. It turns out the poorest village in Nigeria shares a cell phone that they text message information from village to village. Even if there are 30 villagers, there's only one cell phone. That cell phone is the most powerful communication tool that village has ever known, and we've been able to use it in that culture. A culture the Switzerland's culture and the U.S. culture are much more similar than the U.S. and Nigeria. And yet it works there. The CNN calls Goodluck Jonathan the Facebook president. They call him the Facebook president because as we were building his social media structures, he ended up having more followers on Facebook than any other elected official in the world except Barack Obama. But I want to give you one example of him, and then I'll go through quickly through some quick things I think that steps you need to think about, and then I would like to get to questions. But Goodluck Jonathan, he becomes president. We've got his Facebook page, and all of a sudden, one of the young people on the president's Facebook page comments and says, "Mr. President, I don't understand. I'm in San Francisco, and there's no consulate in San Francisco for Nigeria. Nigeria doesn't have a consulate in San Francisco. This is crazy. The reason it's crazy is because everywhere I go in Silicon Valley and talk to companies, they're looking for people who understand a certain computer language, and that language is the only language we teach in Nigerian schools and universities. So we are perfectly situated to help solve that problem of the shortage, and yet there's nobody here, there's no consulate to try to foster that and make it happen." So there's about 700,000 people following Goodluck Jonathan's Facebook page, the president. And about 4 days later, I look up and I'm checking something on my computer, and I go over to check his page, and there's the president saying, "You're right, and I just ordered my foreign minister to open up a consulate in San Francisco." What is incredible about that was that there were 700,000 people who suddenly said to themselves, "My God, he's actually reading this stuff." Because they thought, it was a robot or something. And then all of a sudden, everybody or many start to say, "Wait, I have an idea. How about if we did this to solve this problem? I have an idea about that." Now, not all of the ideas are worth anything. We understand that. But you know what? It turns out 700,000 people, every once in a while, one of them has a really smart idea about how to do it better than the geniuses in the government. And he is actually picking it out and saying that to them and then ordering a minister to do it. So I think we're starting to see how this is going to work moving forward. There's still many things that don't work with it. There are many things that are not, because a lot of the people at the top have not yet figured out that they need to do it, that they need to use social media, that they're going to make mistakes. But the bigger mistake is to totally not look under the water or believe you can ignore what's under that big part of the iceberg that's under the water, the powerful thing that's going to take you out if you don't adjust to it and learn that there's power there that you can use to move things forward. The first thing is listening. That is the thing that if I was going to say to one thing that everybody needs to deal with, is the top doesn't listen. It doesn't listen. If the top had just been listening and heard how, and really got how disenchanted people were with the level of bonuses they were getting. I mean, if they had just really heard it, because otherwise they're running around going, I am Goliath, and what's wrong with me becoming a bigger Goliath, right? So they're so into their own Goliath building that they don't listen at all to the little people, which are their consumers buying their product or banking with them, and so they didn't listen. If they had listened, that one thing alone, if they had used these conversations on social media, have always been happening, except before social media and before the internet, they were happening. Gossip at the water cooler at work, or talking to the neighbor. Gosh, these guys, they're paying themselves way too much. I'm very angry. They couldn't hear it back then. Right now, they can listen in on everything. I mean, they can see the conversation happening in social media and can hear it. And if they hear it and start to say, wait, and lead, okay, this isn't working. How are we going to change the way we do our pay packages, et cetera? And yes, if you don't, you're the recording industry, right? You didn't listen, you didn't do anything about it, you did not lead, you ignored the iceberg under the water, and guess what will happen? A referendum with lots of people. It doesn't mean every referendum will win. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, but that's what starts to happen. The problem becomes bigger, and you start to have problems. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my one card here that I really need to have right now. And of course, I cannot find it. Give me 1 second. Yes, listen. Okay, I'll just go. It'd be better. Maybe it'll come up in questions. But pioneers learn from mistakes. Everybody right now in social media is a pioneer. Let me give you another example. Right now, today, talk about how this is all going to change, just real quick. Right now, everybody in the United States was ecstatic in 2008. Why? Because 3 million people gave Barack Obama $500 million. And that was a miracle because it said the big guys don't have the money, don't control everything the way they used to. We're going to have change. Are you kidding me? America is 330 million people. Everybody's, wow, because 3 million, less than 1% of the country gave him or participated. That's all it was. So it shows you how a small number of people, and getting back, I think it was Philip who talked about 10 to 15% can become active. So if you start looking at 3 million, less than 1%, and the window that Philip's talking about of 10 to 15% of your company's consumers or the parties or the countries could be activated, we're only seeing the Obama campaign that everybody thinks was amazing. It made my campaign look like a joke, is going to be a joke. Watch it. And it may be someone in Europe who makes it a joke eventually. Which gets us to the other thing is, when you look at all the problems that we face, whether you agree about global warming or not, whether you agree about, but more and more the problems that we face are global. And it's going to take global citizens connecting and agreeing, and joining on, I think, on websites and things to take the kind of actions that Philip was talking about on energy, et cetera. I mean, if we start to multiply that out on a global network, not only here, but in other, across the world, this is going to have a big impact. And again, spreading your brand moving forward. The last couple things. Tools are important. The tools that are out there, I think, the tools that were built for Obama cost today ridiculous amounts of money because they've been sort of commoditized, and there are about 4 or 5 different very good companies and probably many more here in Europe that can replicate those kind of tools. It's not the tools. The tools are pretty easy to get these days. It's changing your thought process, moving from Goliath to David. How do we empower them? Don't try to control them. It's empower them. And having that kind of strategic change in your thinking is the single most important thing that you can do in building a campaign. Never stand still anymore. Technology, applications, everything is changing every minute. Like I said, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Facebook. Facebook was on one college campus. YouTube happened. That Will I Am video of the Obama speech couldn't have happened in 2004. It was not possible. As we move forward, there are things that are going to be happening that people in the room may be inventing as we speak that change the way campaigns happen. And the last thing I'd say is because the top spent so much time with manipulative communications tools like television, stop manipulating. You've got to. It's a tough habit to break, but social networks and demand authenticity and hate manipulation. And one of the things that causes the top to fail when it gets into these fights is it continues manipulating. Actually, it decides, well, we need to manipulate even more. So they turn up the manipulation and get overwhelmed by the uprising. So those are my thoughts to leave you with. In the manipulation, start empowering the bottom. Make them evangelists for your product or your company or your party. And I look forward to seeing amazing things that I think will happen here and throughout Europe in the near future as this culture problem, which I don't really think exists, starts to move forward. Thank you very much.